The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys gotta be louder. I can't really hear you.
And voice.
Now we're gonna do
my voice kind of that's up to just know the code.
Thank you. We're going to take a minute of silence and pray for this great country because it's in a time of distress. Children are being kidnapped. Corruption's all it works. So take a time of silence for this country and stand like Americans and take a silence and pray for this great nation to once rise again. Thank you all for coming. I want to explain what today is. Today is Law Day. The explanation, it's under a law that President Eisenhower has given us in 1958, May 1st, 1958. He said it was U.S. Code, Title 36, Subtitle 1, Part A, Chapter 1, Statute 113. Designation, May 1st is Law Day, USA. Purpose, Law Day, USA is a special day of celebration by the people of the United States. 1. In appreciation of their liberties and their reaffirmation of their loyalty to the United States and their rededication to the ideals of equality and justice under the law in their relations with each other and with other countries. 2. For the cultivation of the respect for law that is so vital of the democratic way of life. C. Proclamation. The President is requested to the issue of proclamation. 1. Calling all public officials to display the flag of the United States on all government buildings on Law Day, USA. And 2. Inviting the people of the United States to observe Law Day, USA, with appropriate ceremonies and in other appropriate ways through public entities and private organizations in the schools and other suitable places. Today we're going to express our grievances in the proper civil liberties way. We are Americans, and as Americans, this is the proper way to express our grievances to the Capitol, to our government, to the governor, to the legislation, and everyone else. It is the law. Today is Law Day. It's the start of a new thing because we the people, need to be heard. We have a lot of things scheduled right here, and while I'm sitting here getting prepped up, I'm going to let the veteran come up and speak of some of the needs that the veterans need while I set up.
I really don't know where to begin. I don't know where to begin. I'm kind of impromptu, kind of twisting into this. But our government, and especially our White House and the Commander-in-Chief, is degrading our veterans, making them, taking their rights away, taking their benefits away from them. We have 90% of Vietnam veterans are homeless. 80% of our Iraqi veterans are committing suicide because they have nowhere else to go. They're just taking away everything from them. I think they just want to kill everybody, kill us all and get rid of us. Just because we're expecting the government. That's my view. I'm not sure. Anyways, I don't know what else to go from there. That's all I got to say.
So, for this great nation, we want to say thank you to all our veterans for serving this country and fighting for our freedom. We want to say thank you to all our troops in the military, to say thank you for all the service that you have done, that we are here for you. And we want to say thank you for all our police departments that protect and serve our country, to protect us and keep us safe. And hopefully they'll get themselves together and start thinking that we are the people and they need to protect us. So just thank you. I like to play the song that's brought this nation together for multiple times since it started. It's from Lee Greenwood. God bless you, USA.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again, just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, that I'm proud to be an American, where
say thank you for all that has come. This will be going on YouTube and Twitter and all over the net. So I wanted to make sure that today was the day so we can express our grievances. And we need the chance and opportunity to be able to speak what we have to say. And no one's listening. And that's a problem because we're Americans. And when times get tough, Americans are supposed to stand together because we're Americans. Americans are supposed to help one another. They're supposed to be there for one another because we're family. This is our country. So the very first part of this was about the veterans and the military because we do appreciate them. And we want to make sure we show support because we do love them. And I don't want them to think that we don't, because we do. We appreciate their fight for the freedoms that they give us, and we appreciate for everything that they have done. All the bloodshed that they have created, that's all been shed for our country and our freedoms. And that's what brings us here today, our civil liberties that they fought for. They fought for. They died for. And now our civil liberties are being violated by this government. So, we're going to get into all of it. We have a very corrupted system. With this corruption, we can't be Americans. We're not free. And that's what today is all about, is being free. As long as we don't listen, and as long as we keep our ears closed and blind, it all can happen to you. We're allowing it to happen. Remember, everything that happens in behind these walls and legislation, these are our tax dollars. Our tax dollars. We are Americans, born here, raised here. This is our country. We are the fourth branch of government. We are the people. We are the grand jury. We decide their fate. There is 4 branches of government, and everybody has forgotten the 4th branch. There is the executive branch, is where the president is. There's the legislation branch, which is Congress. Then there is the judicial branch, and that's where the judges and everything else is. But then there's the 4th branch. It's a political arm. And it's called the grand jury. And that is we the people. Because we the people that are American citizens, that our country, our soldiers have fought for, we are the governing bodies. Everybody wants to sit there and keep a blind eye and never listen. These children in the streets, these children everywhere in homes, families are crying and no one's hearing them. They're blind to it. Everybody wants to work. Everybody wants to shuffle around and do their busy days, and they can't take the time to come out here and listen. We have serious issues that are going on here that taxpayers need to know and be aware of. We have children being robbed from their families and kidnapped for money. For money. And parents that are innocent, that didn't do anything wrong, being stripped of every right they have. And these children not having their heritage. They don't know their lineage. And I can prove it. I have the children. I have some of the children that suffered from these things. And the abuse that they endure while they're in the care of the state is unacceptable. Our soldiers fight to keep us free, to keep our families safe. They go away and they come back home and they're mistreated. They're not taken care of. What is our tax dollars paid for? I thought our tax dollars was to pick up the nation when we're in trouble. I thought we put it together and we worked together as a team. That's what made us a great nation. But right now, we're in distress. The people are in distress. Families are in distress. Children, and that's the most important, are in distress. What brings us here today is we have several stories, big stories, that should be heard. Stories that have been ignored for years and no one will do anything. The people are not outraged. Why? Being outraged for something like this should have your attention because it can happen to you. Anybody, this can happen to you. You could be at home one day, your child fell down, and boom, you got CPS at your door and the police at your door taking your children for no reason at all, and it was an accident. And you don't get a choice in it. And then when they get done taking and stripping you of all your rights, they tell your parents they can't have them either. So grandparents won't have their grandchildren. And they place these children with strangers. Strangers. And with these strangers, 9 times out of 10, these children are abused. Because these strangers don't love them. They get paid for them. There's what you call a Title IV. Bill Clinton signed it in 1997. Every one of these children that are removed get paid. The state gets paid $8,000 per child per month. Per month. They get billions of dollars to adopt our children out. For what? Because our children are cattle? That's unacceptable. Our government should be listening to its people. And for Missouri families, this is Jay Nixon's fault. He should be the one to do something. He has the power, and he's refusing to do anything. I know, because I've written them. We all have written them, and we get ignored. What is it going to take to make the families stand together? What's it going to take for America to be outraged? What's it going to take? Is it going to take them coming to your doorstep and take your child? Because it can happen to you. There's a lot of different people out here that's never done anything wrong, have clean records, never broke any laws, but yet they still don't have their children. There's police reports that says that they were exceptionally cleared of any abuse, but yet they still lost their child. Why? Because they give the hospitals too much power. The hospitals kidnap their children without warrants, without anything, but yet they still take them. They hold your children hostage for weeks without a hearing, but yet they sit here and lie, and the legislation says it's only 12 hours. But we can prove it. We got the proof. My child was taken, he was gone for 6 weeks before a warrant ever got issued from a hospital. It all starts with the hospitals, and us people, Americans, are not outraged. Come on now. We should be standing together and saying, hey, it's enough. No more. You can't take these children. It's kidnapping, and it should not be allowed. But no, they ignore it. No different than all of you walking past and just ignoring, not lending an ear, not being supportive. We need all the Americans to stand up on this because we fought for our freedom and for our rights to be able to have family. The government should not, and I mean should not, ever interfere with the upbringing of family, but yet they do. Under the 14th Amendment to Article 2, it clearly states that no government and no legislation shall pass any law that deprives you of your life, your liberty, and property without due process. Well, family courts is a secretive court. There is no due process. It's nothing. No one knows about it, and it's secretive. That's not right. With everything that we go through, we're supposed to have transparency. We're entitled to due process. When they get the police to do their dirty work without warrants, that's corruption. Police corruption. When police come into your home, braiding in without warrants and tackling you down, that's corruption. Right now, we have a serious problem in America. A problem that needs to be addressed. A problem that the President of the United States should not be ignoring. A problem that our governor that has the power to bring these children home should not ignore. CPS needs to be completely demolished and redone. CPS is not deserving of their title. I so by ask the government of the Federal United States of America to cease and desist of removal of any child being taken until these matters are fallen and taken place and looked into. Every child deserves the right to due process. Every mother and every parent deserves due process, and every grandparent deserves the right to know their grandchildren. Nobody has the right to take these children from loving homes. No one has the right to interfere with family. Now, I was going to go into my story, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. I'll probably finish up with my story. But what I want to bring up is my son. His name is Michael Joseph Roche. That's his adopted name. His birth name is Michael Allen Keeler. Now, I don't want to take the spotlight or anything else like that. And I'm going to let him tell you exactly what he endured. Because he was taken. He was taken in 1997. And he lived this nightmare for 17 years. So I want him to tell you to listen. Because he is a child of the system. and children deserve to be heard. And if you can't take 10 minutes to listen to this child and hear what he has to say and stand up for a child, then I don't know what else to do. I give up. Because right now, I'm at my last wits. 17 years to fight for justice for a child is hard. We need you. We need your voices. So Michael, will you please come up here and tell these people what you endured starting from the beginning? Thank you, son.
Have you ever wondered exactly what goes through a child's mind when he finds out his entire life is a lie? For 11 years, he finds out that his mother did nothing wrong, did absolutely nothing wrong, never physically, mentally, or neglected him in any form, hurted him in such way. Have you ever wondered exactly why a child would be taken for revenue? That's what I think. Have you ever thought that a child would never be neglected medically, physically, or mentally abused in any form with his adopted parents? That's what goes through my head. But in 2013 is when I found my mother, and 1997 is when I was taken. I was 2 years old. In 2001 is when I was adopted. So I was gone for 15 years. And I found out in 2013 that my mother never did physically, medically, or mentally abuse me, but my adopted parents did. In fact, in 2011 is when I had a tumor removed. In fact, I've had one for 17 years. And I was 17 years of age when I got removed. But I was with my adopted parents at the time. So, they always thought it was a hyper lymph node. They always thought it was nothing serious. But they never did a follow-up. They also physically abused me when I was 2 to 5 years of age. Around that age. When I was in their custody, I had belt bruisings on my back. So there was pretty much physical abuse going on. And when I got older, that kind of stopped, but it was more mental abuse. And I had to deal with that. And for 17, 18 years of living, I found in 2013 is when I found my mother. And when I found her, I had no idea that I had no idea that any of this happened. Like, I always thought that she didn't love me, or she didn't like me, or that she didn't want me. I always assumed that because my adopted parents told me that. And I was just a child, I would always believe what my adopted parents told me. So when I was told over and over and over that my mother didn't love me, and my mother didn't want me, by the people who were taking care of me, I just believed it and wouldn't go on with it, wouldn't question it until I found my mother. And when I found my mother, all of it changed. I found out from a police report that there was exceptionally cleared of any abuse. No abuse. There was nothing. They never mentally abused me, never physically abused me, emotionally abused me, nothing. And that stated all that stuff in file, and I also remember that. In fact, I remember that there was no abuse because living with my mom, I remember that I was not abused. But I do remember the physical abuse that my adopted parents put me through. I do remember that because belt beatings on my back, at the 2 years age, 3 years age. Of course, the child doesn't remember that. And so my biggest question for you would be, would you ever expect a child growing up to actually know that all this was happening until finding out that his mother never lied to him by talking to his mother? Would you ever think a police officer would go with one side of the story and not talk to another side of the story in, let's say, a car accident? So if a car accident happened, he has to know both sides of the story, right? He can't just know one. That was in my situation. My adopted parents, they wanted me to only know their side of the story, but not my mother's. My biggest question is, would you ever believe one side of the story, or would you try to get to know both sides of the story? Because that's what I tried to do, and I got ridiculed and harassed constantly on a daily basis by them to this day. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. There's more to the story, but he's a little nervous, and I think he did a real good job for the first time ever speaking out. I want to bring a woman up here. She's got a RICO case going on for the same instance, for a lot of it. Her name's Sherry. Please give her a great applause.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Sherry Lagares, and today is not the first day that I'm here on the Capitol steps. I was here in the Capitol in 2002 when a case came down from the appellate court about my son that had dyslexia. And we had won the case. Governor Jay Nixon was the Attorney General at the time. He had filed briefs against us, and we won. So I came to the Capitol on a very short notice because the state law that we had won on, they were repealing. However, so this is not the first time I'm here, but this time that I'm here, it's because, as been talked about, the Division of Family Services, Children's Division, CPS, all of the alphabet soup names that they want to give them, began to collude. They colluded with the school system of some of the people that were involved back during my son's original case and then my other family's cases. So what they did was they began to collude together. Governor Nixon is aware of who I am. He was the Attorney General at the time. Governor Nixon knows what's going on in this state. Governor Nixon is the Chief Magistrate of this state. Chris Costner is the Attorney General. And their office represents all of these political subdivisions that are involved in this child kidnapping. And they're using their policing powers through all of the political subdivisions that they possibly can, that are colluding together in order to make up false documentation, false records, bring in police departments to help them do this type of thing. So a few days ago, April 21st, 2015, a RICO case, civil rights case, was filed in the federal court. And Governor Nixon, Chris Costner, attorneys, judges are all named as defendants. But one thing that perhaps our legislators do not know, but I would like them to be aware, and I would like them to read this RICO case. In this RICO case, the history, State of Missouri, Office of Child Advocate for Children's Protection and Services. And in this document that was filed within this RICO case is one sentence that is most disturbing and I'm not sure that our legislature or anyone else knows. It states, the Missouri Supreme Court also created the Commission on Children's Justice to unify the three branches of government so that comprehensive solutions to child welfare problems could be made in a consistent and rational manner. And I believe everyone here would disagree with that. I believe that unifying all three branches of the government is not how this country was formed.
Thank you, Sherry. Well, I had a special request just now, which I think is a great idea. It's right in, not part of my thing, but my daughter would like to speak about the opposite side of the coin, how children feel when they're left behind and one child gets ripped apart. Cassandra, will you come up here, please?
Okay, so they already know who I am. I'd like to throw it back a little bit, about the early 1900s, when basically slavery was around.
Really?
Kids were basically seen as profit. They're seen as profit now. The government used women and kids as a work thing. They worked in factories, they died in factories. I mean, there was this one girl, she was 8 years old. She died in a factory because she stood on her feet every day for 13 hours straight because frames would constantly run out. They didn't care about kids, they were just money. Now it's like my brother, all his adoptive parents got. They weren't even his adopted parents, honestly. His adoption papers weren't even real. So, from my point of view, my brother was just a paycheck. And for majority of my life, it went without my brother, my oldest brother. I seen William, my other brother, as my oldest brother, knowing I had another brother. In 4th grade, I had a notebook. We had to write in it every single day after recess. Kind of like a summary about our day and how we feel. Just little stories about things that affect us. And I used to write about my brother all the time. Not knowing, like, a part of you, basically. He's my brother. He came out of the same woman I came out of. There's pictures of us together. But I don't know who he is because he left at a young age. That really affects somebody. You don't know a part